YouTube, welcome to the top 16 of the new pack day. This is it. Voiceless Voice, Ice Barrier, Goaty, Raid Raptor. Are they in the top cut? Well, we have Voiceless Voice in the top cut. As I said, it'd be a new top tier deck. Now, when I say it's a new top tier deck, I'm not saying it's the new best deck. And I definitely don't think it's the new best deck, but it should at least be top tier. I mean, look at her. She's top tier, right? Now, by watching as long as you can, that greatly supports this video. Have us on in the background while you're doing laundry or working out, whatever you want to do. Thank you very much. Hajime.
There can only be one winner, and you're looking at it. Let's go.
I promise Voiceless does more than that. They just bricked. Everyone bricks, right? Every deck. There isn't a deck that does not brick. Editor, cut that out. Thank you. All right. Pressure Planet searching for a Kashtira Unicorn special summoning as we have set up our Dimensional Fissure, grabbing our Theosis. Theosis will Theos a Kashtira from the deck onto the field. We now have Fenrir in defense. It has to be summoned into defense. As we grab a Scareclaw Kashtira here. Special summoning from our hand, Rise Heart, banishing from the deck the Kashtira Big Bang. As we fully exceed this up into an Arise Heart, now any card sent to the grave will be banished. We're going to detach 3, getting rid of that Crossout Designator. We're going to chain Crossout Designator to negate Max C. Well, why didn't we Max C? You have to chain Max C to the activation of the Dimensional Fissure. Otherwise, Max C has to go to the graveyard on its activation, so it's now illegal to activate as soon as the Dimensional Fissure resolved. So maybe we didn't know that. All right, we are going to be triggering the Arise Heart to grab another card that is banished to equip it as an Xyz material. Banish in the graveyard the Theosis, which will trigger to grab a banished Kashtira card back to our hand. Yep. We have not used the Birth yet. Birth could special summon onto the field. We could also additionally normal summon that Fenrir. I mean, we're definitely setting up lethal. I think we win right here, right now. Kashtira anti-graveyard. This is it. This is already enough for lethal damage. Even more, over 10,000 damage lethal, which is quite unfortunate. We have Voiceless Voice bricking and then not activating Max C before the resolution of the Dimensional Fissure. You have to understand what cards that are hand traps can be used, even under cards being sent to the grave being banished instead. Valor can't be used. Max C can't be used. Ogre, the pop one, cannot be used. Now, what can be used is Ash Blossom. Even under Dimensional Shifter, under the Arise Heart, under Dimensional Fissure, does not matter. You could still use Ash Blossom. We're going to Max C right away, and we have no Ash nor Finger to stop the C. Ain't no way. Lo is going to set up the Barrier of the Voiceless, now searching for a Saphira. Saphira is going to discard herself, sending a Ritual spell to grab a Ritual monster, grabbing our Skull Guardian. Now Saphira is going to banish in the graveyard, using the Lo for the cost, or a Trias instead because we're under Max C. Otherwise, you would use Lo, but Lo will trigger to Reborn. So the least amount of special summoning is a better play to do. Now, with the Guardian, we'll be searching our deck for a Sarvis to protect us from being targeted, but we're already protected from being targeted. Now, what are our disruptions here? We have a Skull Guardian to negate and destroy anything. We're also completely protected from being targeted by any card effects, only the monsters, that is. And we have a Nibiru. And that is it. Yep, that's it. Okay, let's go. Ash Blossom, negate the Max C. Will the Skull Guardian is negating the negate. Negate the Ash Blossom. Max C is going to be drawing per special summon for the rest of this turn, as we just have Nibiru. I no longer have to count the Nibirus on my fingers. Let's freaking go. It is here. It is top tier. Ain't no way. Theosis summoning a Fenrir. Boom. 2. Fenrir searching our deck. I can just keep this up like that, yeah? We have the Rise Heart special summoning, banishing 3 cards off the top of the deck, further showconning the anti-Nibiru play of summoning a Rise Heart with 3 materials. We don't summon any more monsters. Just like that, Nibiru is stuck on 4 summons. A Rise Heart cannot target the Skull Guardian nor the Lo. Now we're taking out the Barrier and triggering to grab another material. We have the... Ooh, are we going to a 5th summon? Oops! Nibiru, and it's lighting up. Let's go. 5. Tributing off the entire field just like that, and we already committed so much under the Max C, we definitely now lose, right? Now, this is another way we could win. Macro Cosmos is going to ensure that any card sent to the grave is banished instead. This could be quite devastating. The Lo wants to be in the graveyard, Saphira wants to be in the graveyard, so what do? We're going to fire off our prayers or the Voiceless Voice ritual spell, tributing our Sarvis for Skull Guardian, which will trigger the low in the graveyard to summon itself onto the field. Now, Skull Guardian can get negated by the impermanence. And oh my gosh, Low's getting banished by the Kashtira Birth. Now, can you chain Low to being banished by Birth? You are turn player with an optional trigger against an optional trigger from the non-turn player. So the turn player optional triggers will be Chain Link 1, Chain Link 2, Chain Link 3, and then the non-turn player will be above those chains higher up on the stack and then resolve backwards. The Birth would banish the Low even if she were to activate in this chain. She can't, we passed on the activation, so she cannot summon. She's getting banished. And the Skull Guardian can't even negate unless there's a low on the field. No low on the field, no barrier to protect us from being targeted, no Sarvis in the hand to protect us from being targeted. Now, can Sarvis even discard from the hand if there's a Macrocosmos? If you would be targeted, yeah, it's still activatable under a Macrocosmos to protect us from being targeted. And the Skull Guardian is fully negated, so we have no negate plus no attack boost, but now it's back. We have that negate on the Skull Guardian. We have negate anything, negate a monster plus Radiance, pop a card on the field. We still have 4 disruptions. Let's go. Kashtira preparations, attempting to activate the special summon of Banished Kashtira. We're going to negate and destroy. Now, Imperm could have negated if there was an effect monster on the field to negate. We have the Radiance chaining to the Kashtira Birth effect of reborning a Banished Kashtira. Radiance, get poppin', goodbye. Now, even though the Radiance is banished, it could still be added back to the hand through the Blessing if we get a Blessing. We cannot attack into the low, but the token is at 7,500 attack, big enough to take out the Skull Guardian, banishing everything in sight. Low not being sent to the graveyard is a big deal. Now, we could have possibly, if we wanted to, on their turn, on the attacks, to get low in the graveyard, we could have impermed in this column to negate the Macrocosmos so that we would have not been banished. But we're going to do it right here, right now, so we can activate our Nadir Servant. We're going to grab a Sarvis. Sarvis is not summonable unless we have a ritual spell in the graveyard plus our hand. Both the ritual spells are banished. Garura being sent to the grave, randomly drawing into a low. That's good. We're going to banish Garura for the Maximus. Maximus sent from the extra deck. Both players are sending. Now, the Kashtira player themselves are playing Garura and Entis. Normally, you're not supposed to be triggering their effects, but it's popping off. They're going to pop. They're also going to draw. And what we're doing is we are going to pop the token and also draw and return a card back. So Entis taking out the barrier of the Voiceless Voice being sent to the grave because the Macrocosmos is now negated. Randomly drawing into a Macrocosmos, draw, return back the low. We have Blessing to return back our banished cards. We have Diviner sending Herald. Herald searching for Sarvis. We have Trias triggering, not triggering, but tributing the Diviner to trigger Diviner to summon a low from the deck. Low set up into our back row, a barrier alongside our Blessing. Bless us as we add back our prayers that is banished to our hand. We're going to activate to ritual summon our Sarvis, which will trigger the low in the graveyard to reborn. And the Sarvis in the hand is now summonable. We have 9,000 damage on the field, 11,000 damage on the field, so we did not use the low trigger to summon because we wanted to make room for that Sarvis summon. And just like that, Voiceless Voice beating down Kashtira after Imperm negating that Macrocosmos, taking this into a game 3. D-shifter right away on our own turn so we cannot get fingered. I was playing some TCG simulators lately, and I was getting D-shiftered a lot. And I was like, why do I have this similar feeling? I felt this feeling before. I'm like, wait. That's how I feel when I get max seed. That's what this freaking is in the TCG. I get shifted and I feel like I just got max seed because it turns on an internal rage of now I really want to just sack my opponent and do something crazy. And that's what this freaking card does. Everything being sent to the grave is now banished. Now, even if we finger the shifter after it has resolved, it's a lingering effect. It will not negate it. We have the Ash Blossom negating the barrier from searching our deck. Now, is Saphira even activatable? Why would you even want to activate her? You could discard this card, send a ritual spell from your deck to the graveyard, then you could add. So if you don't send from the deck to the graveyard, you don't get to then add a ritual monster. So this would not be good to activate. DK banned too many people. Who would I ban? All right. We have Unicorn activating to search our deck for a birth, as we already have the Theosis. Many people believe against Kashtira itself, it's better to save the Ash for the Theosis. And now we have that Theosis. Theosis summoning from the deck a Fenrir. Fenrir is going to be activating to search our deck for a Rise Hearts. This is not looking good for Voiceless whatsoever. We have nothing relevant in the grave to banish with our double finger. We have a dead Saphira in the hand, Dark Armed. The Dragon of Annihilation is here, detaching to pop up the field here. Goodbye to our barrier, which we're not now going to be able to use for our follow play to search. We're going to, again, detach, get poppin'. Call by the Grave is going to be fingering that unicorn before it gets banished by the Annihilation. We have another card in the graveyard to be banishing. We could banish a Shifter if we want to. Goodbye, Shifter. And then, again, detach a material, wiping out the third back row card, a full back row wipe. Now, while the Fenrir is banished by the finger, it is still negated, but we could reborn it with our Birth. Reborning it with the Birth, it will also be negated on the next turn. So on our own turn, when we activate any monster effect, it's not going to be able to banish. The Unicorn is also currently negated. So our only form of disruption is the Ash Blossom, and that's it. Now, Saphira in Blessing. We could make some plays off of this, right? Oh my gosh. We just got all three of our cards banished. Is that a big deal? No, it's fine, it's fine. Okay, we're gonna Saphira, Ash Blossom, negate. Now, unfortunately, Saphira's kind of small. She is a level 6. So the Skull Guardian is not able to use her for a ritual summon because the Skull Guardian is how large? Skull Guardian is a level 7. They really need to make her level 7 because we could have added her back and then ritual. Well, then we wouldn't be able to banish her either. Yeah, I don't think Ash was even needed. We just didn't really have a play. And our cards are banished face down, so we can't use Blessing to add back a face down banished card. Kashtira's just clapping. I don't know what to say. Kashtira dominating Voiceless Voice. Then we are searching. I see the gifted subs. Thank you so much. Song of the Sun with 20 gifted subs total as we are going into lethal damage. Kashtira knocking out Voiceless Voice. Dilemma, mine. Song of the Sun, you are amazing. Thank you for doing it under our hype train. Holy moly. Fossil, dig into our OV Raptor. What is Dino doing in the top 16 here? Negate a monster, negate a monster, negate a card in the field, negate a card in the field, flip the entire opposing field face down. That's 5 disruptions plus a maxi and a Call by the Grave. Are you ready? Let's go. We're playing against the best deck, Yubel. Bro, what? Yubel had no disruption game 1, but now for game 2, we have double impermanence. Now we have a miscellaneous source to make us unaffected from the impermanence, but only onto our dinosaur monsters. Begin. Negate. 5 negates plus impermanence, mate. That's 6 disruption plus a Call by the Grave. Let's go. 6 disruption. Imperm. On to the Dulka. Lars. Negate. We're now down to 5. 5 disruption. I don't think that Yubel could play through all this disruption. We're going to follow up with the Spirit Gates. Lars again. Double negate. Now down to 4 disruption. Lars negate, the opening Spirit Gates. It's negated for the whole turn. It does not get destroyed though. Nightmare Pain does not get negated as we're popping our monster to search for a D-Lotus. D-Lotus will activate for the Dulka to negate. Dulka, negate. No D-Lotus summoned for the deck, and the Spirit Gates is negated from reborning the D-Lotus, and the D-Lotus is a hard once per turn activation anyway, as we now summon our Phantom of Yubel, going in for a battle damage reflect. Instead, we're going to take 3,000 damage ourselves and be destroyed by that battle. Damn. Not looking good for Yubel. We have 1 Dulka, 1 Baron to floor negate, Baron to floor, pop a card in the field, taking out the escape, trigger escape, summon from the deck, nothing as the Baron to floor negates. Now, we have 7,800 damage on the field, 200 more damage, and we win. We're banishing 4 to summon an Oviraptor, and just like that, the Giant Rex cannot attack directly. We have 2, 10,000, 9,000 damage. Finish them up. Thank you very much. Taking this into Game 3. All right, thank you for not disconnecting. Happy to see Dinos doing well. Very much enjoy this deck. Game 3. Setting up that Nightmare Throne, not activating the Ash Blossom onto it. We're going to chain Max C to the activation of the Spirit of Yubel, summoning a Yubel from the deck. We have Ash negating the Max C, holding on to that finger for the opposing Ash. So it looks like we have full combo with Nightmare Throne. Our disruptions are, let's draw our card first. Ooh, evenly match off the top of the deck, ain't no way. D-Lotus can negate a monster, Phantom Yubel can negate a monster, the Apollo can negate, so that's 5 disruption right there. We also have Escape, pop a card. We have Soul of Rage, which could link with a monster, then banish a card in the field, and then banish another monster. And we also have a Super Poly, but no card to discard, but the Soul of Rage, when popped with the Escape, will add a card to discard with Super Poly. So we have 10 disruption versus an evenly matched. Let's go. Battle phase, evenly match, banish everything but 1 card. So how we play around this, we use Escape to pop our Soul of Rage. And yep, so you would think, oh no, should we have added Call by the Grave? If we add Call by the Grave to the evenly matched, they would then be able to banish 1 less card in the field. So that wouldn't be a good idea. We're gonna have to use it afterward. So now everything but the Apollo Yusei has been banished, but because we destroyed our cards, we're triggering our Yama to summon our Soul. But if we finger the Soul, it does not get reborn. So Call by the Grave plus evenly match helping us out with this Mighty Fields. But there's still a triple monster negate Apollo USA. So what do? Now the Yama's a non-target reborn, so we're gonna reborn a Yubel, even though we fingered the intended reborn monster. We're gonna summon an Oviraptor. We don't have a miscellaneous. And we are in main phase 2, so we can't battle into the Apollo. But we could make a Typhon. Typhon could get negated by the Apollo. We're gonna try to spin it back. Apollo negate. Now, the Typhon is still active with its continuous effect. Its continuous effect being 3,000 or more attack cannot activate. So what exactly is that? The Access Code Talker could just stay under 3K. The Chaos Angel won't be able to banish, and that's it. Chaos Angel and Access Code Talker are the cards that are affected most by the Typhon. So it's not really a big deal whatsoever. Let's speed this up. Making an SP Little Knight, if we banish a card, we cannot attack directly. So just like that, no direct attack. So we're just gonna set up our disruption, then end. Nice try trying to cheat there. We have double monster negate plus a monster banish, so triple disruption to play through. And we have a Frostosaurus. This monster's metabolism enables it to endure long periods of cold, harnessing the power to become a creature of solid ice. Nothing else can withstand such temperatures, especially victims of its glacial rampage. Damn. But it's stuck in the hand. Okay, let's speed this up. Yubel, Squirmer, pop Yubel, Summon Terror Incarnate. We're now going to Shokan into a 6,300 attack Yubel, quite large, 7,900 damage. Bro, you could not lethal? Are you leaving him at 100 life? What? Double Imperm, still the Frostosaurus can't freaking do anything. Damn. All right, Access Code Talker, let's get popping. And it's like, you know, we could Imperm before it pops, but I mean, we're at 100 life here. Just whatever. Lethal damage. 2-1 victory. Dino should have won game 1, but then Dino won only game 2 because it went first. So we should be going into a 3rd game after this. It's just unfortunate. Disconnects do happen. Try to make sure your Wi-Fi connection's good, yes? Bonfire for the Ash Eye. We could speed this up. I know a lot of you are tired of Snake Eye. You're going to be using the Veiler onto the Ash, which is a risk because they could have Kieran. We're going to be drawing 2 off of the Triple Tactics talent, grabbing Diablo Star, discard Poplar to set up into the back row, grab an Original Sinful to send the Poplar to summon from the deck our Ponix. Ponix is going to get negated by Impermanence. Again, where's our Kieran? We play 3 Kieran to dodge targeting effects. We're now going to be making a Promethean Princess with what's left of our field, reborning our Ash to then send Promethean to summon our Flame Burrs, which will set up a Masquerena into the back row. So what we have here is a Masquerena Disruption. We have Promethean Princess to pop a special summon. We have Droll and Lockbird to disallow further searching after searching. And we have an Ash Blossom to negate. So 4 disruptions. Let's go. Special summon our Unicorn. Unicorn is why you'd want to play more than 1 Promethean in your deck. We're going to Droll and Lockbird, lock them out of further searching, but we're going to chain Wanted Seeker before being locked out. Ash Blossom is going to negate. And just like that, we have 2 disruptions left. Masquerena link off into a Little Knight plus Promethean pop a special summon. Little Knight's now gone. So now we don't have Masquerena into that. That's going to be an issue. So we lose our Masquerena. Oh my, we just swapped? Huh? You take my Masquerena, I take your Poplar. I don't think that's a good trade, but we do it anyway. We're going to trigger the Promethean, pop in the Masquerena, come forth, and just like that, we now have 0 disruption, nothing left. Okay. Reborn the Ponix and our Ash. We cannot search because of our own Droll. Our own Droll and Lockbird turned off our Ash, turned off our Ponix. Now the opponent's making a Dark. Dark's going to reborn a Dark monster from the opposing player's graveyard, which will be a Diablo Star. Diablo Star being summoned through the Dark will trigger on summon to search our deck and set up an Original Sinful. Even though we're under Droll, we're not searching, we're setting. We're going to send Diablo Star to summon a Poplar. Can't search. For the Shokan into Promethean Princess. Promethean, reborn the Oak. Oak, reborn the Poplar. For the Shokan into the Raging Phoenix. Raging Phoenix will go into a Zelantis. We have Oak sending itself as the Poplar to summon a Flameburge. And now Zelantis is here. Is this enough for lethal damage? What do you think? We have popped 3 cards plus a ton of damage on the field. I think it's game. Yeah? Zelantis come back in attack. Come back Flameburge in attack. And we're going to summon the Poplar. We're going to pop Poplar with the Promethean Princess. Ash will be an attack or the Ponix to attack over. Yeah, it's a full field wipe. And we have 7,000 damage, which is now going to... We just blocked our... So it's 10,000 damage. And there we go. Wipe out Promethean, 10,000 damage. Popping our own card to trigger our Raging Phoenix to now give us how much damage on the field? 12,000 damage. Absolute insanity, all under Droll and Lockbird, which is supposed to theoretically end someone's turn, like a Max C. You Droll them, they're supposed to go, okay, I'm done, I end my turn. But not Snake Eye. We have Ash Blossom negating a Ponix search. Monster negate, monster negate, monster negate, monster negate. 4 disruption on top of the Promethean Princess. Pop a special summon. Masquerena will go into a Little Knight Banish, into a Little Knight Banish. We have about 7 disruption plus our Bystials. All right, let's go. Subversion. Just knocking off 3 of those 7 disruptions. We're now down to 4. Special summon Unicorn, grabbing our Kashtira Birth. We're going to Original Sinful, send the Unicorn to summon an Ash. Ash is going to be negated by Impermanence, or will it? We have a crossout Designate. Negate the Impermanence, now down to triple disruption. We have Little Knight into also the Promethean Princess. Now, we can't Promethean before summoning our Masquerena. We have to Masquerena into Little Knight before Promethean, which would lock us into fire monsters only. Thus, we have the Flameburst summoning our Masquerena from the back row. We have to Masquerena now. Yup. Okay. We're triggering the Promethean to pop a monster, and then the Masquerena summoning a Little Knight. Little Knight on summon, get banishing. We're also going to trigger the Flameburst to reborn 2 level 1 fires from the graveyard. So our only form of disruption left is our Little Knight Chain Banish in response to a card effect activating. Can only banish an opposing monster, not a back row card like the Birth, which will reborn the Unicorn. We have Oak, we have Ponix, Ponix searching. Oak is also reborning our Poplar. Come to us, Fire King Sanctuary, and we also have our Divine Temple. Divine Temple versus Divine Temple, setting up the Birth, reborn the Unicorn. To battle we go, taking out Lil Knight. Now we have 0 disruption left, but we have 0 plays left. So it was enough. 7 disruption, going down to 0, and they end their turn on nothing. Promethean reborn the Flamers, which could push the Unicorn into the back row. You have Divine Temple triggering to reborn our back row Oak, which will further give us some more protection as it summons another body onto the field. Goodbye to our Zealantis through the effect of Unicorn. Ash can add a Poplar, even more protection. Push back the Unicorn, further Shokan into a Doolittle Chimera. Sanctuary setting up the Fire King Island. We're going to be popping the Poplar to equip into the back row, grab Runick's trigger, summon onto the field. To pop from the deck, a Kieran. Kieran will summon the Ponix, pop a card in the field, taking out the Oak. Ponix will be searching for the Skyburn, which could further pop more cards in the field. We're going to pop Ponix plus pop the Ash. We're dealing with 8,000 life points here, as we have 11,000 damage in the field. More than enough for lethal after the Oak taking out the Poplar. And just like that, Garunix for game, taking this into a game 3. Fire King Bystial Snake Eye versus Snake Eye Kashtira. A turn 2 hand with no plays turn 1. Set the droplet in called by, now back to you. Crossout cannot negate the called by if both called bys are in our hand. So that's definitely something worth to note. We have the Wanted Seeker grabbing Diablo Star, discard Garunix. We want that in the graveyard to set up into the back row our original Sinful. Sinful send Diablo Star for an Ash. Ash is going to be met with a Called by the Grave. We're going to finger Garunix and negate the Ash with the droplet. Very well done. Okay. Wanted Seeker is going to be returning back the original Sinful. We also could not have crossed out the effect of the droplet because it sent a spell card. What you could do if you had a quick effect of a monster, let's say a Kieran, you could chain Kieran to the droplet, then chain crossout designate to your Kieran to negate the droplet if we play droplet ourselves. Imperm off the top, I mean, 1 for 1 has to discard a monster. It can't be activated. We're going to discard Triple Tactics talent as the opponent has no monsters in sight. Imperm, negate the Diablo Star as we have Crossout designate to negate the impermanence, as we then follow up with, we're just like, nah, I don't want to play anymore. Gold Sark, banishing of the deck. We have no disruption whatsoever for this turn 1 play. Gangrenal sent. Whoa! Whoa! I said Puppets ban, but not Christia. What are you doing? Oh my gosh. Neither player could special summon monsters if Christia is on the field. We do have a Call by the Grave, though. Oh my gosh. Quem being summoned through Titanclad during the end phase. Albion setting up a branded in red. We're going to Cartesia, add back during the end phase also. Can we set up a way to get Christia onto the field? We're going to summon our Airlifter. Airlift grab a Rescue Ace HQ, which allows an additional summon. And just like that, we're going to use Branded in red onto the Albaz. We're going to Call by the Grave, finger the Albaz. I do not think so. You will not be summoning Christia on me. Not happening. We still have a non-target monster banish with the Mirror Jade. We could also reborn the Albaz. No, Albaz is fingered, so that's not even a form of disruption. We have Impulse chaining to the Mirror Jade non-target monster banish to summon a Rescue Ace from the deck. Summoning our Fire Engine, we're going to non-target monster banish that Fire Engine. Gangrenal is going to trigger to summon a monster from the extra deck or deck as we chain emergency summon from our deck. As you can see, the Nibiru's counting. We're on the 4th summon here. We summoned a Preventer to then send Preventer to summon the banished Fire Engine back on the field, which will be the 5th counter for Nibiru. Quem is triggering on summon to send a Cartesia from the deck to the grave. To battle we go, 2200 Airlifter plus 3000 attack, Fire Engine big enough to wipe out the Mirror Jade, triggering Mirror Jade to wipe out the field of monsters during the end phase, as the Albur resummons from the grave after our fusion has been destroyed. Main phase 2, Turbulence is here, just to get hit by that Nibiru. Now, the Mercurier is dead at the moment, but Nibiru tripped off the field before it activates to set up a ton of disruption within the back row. Turbulence generally sets up 3 disruptions. So that Nibiru stopping triple disruption, big play. Yeah, we scooping off that Nibiru. Nibiru, enter the scoop phase. Let's go. Airlifter into Emergency. Emergency is going to be met with a Max C as we Ash Blossom negate that Max C. We have negate a monster, pop a monster, flip a monster face down, negate a monster, negate a monster, negate a monster, negate with Ash Blossom, 7 disruption to play through. Can April do it as April draws a Nibiru for the turn? Master Rule 6 should have had that Nibiru in the opening hand. What the hell is that? Fusion deploy, reveal Gangrunol to summon a Blazing Cartesia as we then activate Branded Fusion. Ash Blossom, negate, Call by the Grave, finger the negate. I do not think so, mate. Negated. All right, let's resolve that Branded Fusion. Cartesia is going to protect us from being targeted by cards like Contain or Extinguish. They try to destroy or negate, we just fuse with Cartesia, but Cartesia will be negated by the Apollo or the Contain. Apollo negate the Albion, so we're not going to even try to target it. If we chain Cartesia, fuse with the Albion, it's still negated, unfortunately. We're not affecting the card, we're affecting the effect, we're negating the effect. The Bystial Lubellion is going to be reborning from the grave as we now summon a Preventer from the deck to send Preventer to reborn a banished Hydrant. And we could use Preventer to flip down the Lubellion. That's exactly what we're doing. As we then follow up with Thrust, thrusting a grass-looking green to our hand, milling 20 cards off the top of our deck. Big 20-card mill. Let's take a second to see what exactly we milled here. We have Albion in the graveyard. We have a Retribution, which could add back a Branded Fusion, or the Branded Red could be added back to the hand. We have Mercurier for banishing to search for an Albaz monster. We have Albion, which could send any Albaz card from the deck to the grave. Let's get to it. We're going to use the Albion Shrouded to send a Branded White. We're going to use Retribution to add that Branded White. And Branded White is like a Branded Fusion, but with the graveyard. You could use the hand, field, or grave. Alert is going to do what? What are we doing? We're adding a Rescue Ace from our deck. Sure. We didn't have a Rescue to steal the Albaz from the graveyard. Banish the Albaz and the Mercurier to summon a Lubellion. That's going to Chain Link block Lubellion from being negated by Apollo. So Apollo now cannot negate. Contain could negate, but then Cartesia could chain fuse to dodge the Contain. Damn, outplayed. Well, not really, because the Apollo negates the negate, dodging the negate. I don't think so, mate. Negate. As the Contain negates. Mercurier grab a Quem, which we still have an open normal summon for. Normal summon the Quem. Quem send from the deck. Impulse chain summon a Rescue Ace in the deck. Apollo has a negate, and Extinguish could pop a monster on the field. Still got that double disruption. To battle phase we go. We just lost our Apollo. Apollo gone. And we are not going to even have to use our Extinguish. Do we extinguish one of their cards now? Yup, before the Cartesia is activatable again during the next turn. Albion setting up a banishment into the back row, which is really good for reborning a Mirror Jade if we had a Mirror Jade in grave, which we do not. Oh boy. Maxi off the top of the deck here. Emergency, recycling the Contain from the graveyard to contain a monster on the field. It will be activatable. The turn is set due to the Hydrant being on the field. Hydrant searching for an Airlifter. Airlift, grab the Rescue Ace HQ to recycle our traps and spells back into the deck. Preventer flipping down the Quem before we link off into a Phoenix, forcing the activation of that banishment by discarding the Gamma. Banishment, reborn from the grave, and also fuse with either field. You chain Maxi, you're potentially drawing 2 cards off of this one banishment activation. So we have the draw 1 off of the initial summon, and then fusion summon for our draw 2 into Caritis. Now Albion does not trigger on special summon, so it will not activate to fuse into a Mirror Jade. Fire Engine is going to be reborning from the graveyard. The Impulse is going to turn off the Caritis. Caritis is going to reduce the field to 0 attack before being turned off from being activatable. We're going to chain Impulse to summon from the deck our Turbulence. Turbulence will be reduced to 0 attack, but that's fine. With the Rescue Ace HQ, let's return our traps and spells to then have our Turbulence reset them back onto the field. Is Ghost Spell good in this meta? In this meta, is Ghost Spell good? I'm not so sure about that. If you're Yubel, one of the main ways to out your Phantom of Yubel would be a Call by the Grave. And if you want to Ghost Spell negate Called by, that could be pretty good. Yes? So yeah, further helping Yubel was not your question, but that's what I did. Unicorn on summon, discard to spin a card on the field back into the extra deck. It's not going to trigger when returned back to the extra deck. Banish to summon a Preventer, further Shokan into an Access Code Talker. Get Bob boosted, but boost up our attack, 5,300 attack. Let's wipe out the field as we have 8,600 damage, but the Access Code Talker will be negated, but the finger will finger the Alubur. To negate the negate, you will not negate and reduce my Access Code Talker back down to 2,300 and also stopping us from popping the Albion. So let's further get popping. Banish in the Grave, wipe out the Albion, 8,600 damage, and just like that, we're going into game 3. All right, good effort from both players there. Alrighty, Branded Fusion, no good here, but we do have a Fusion Duplication. This is why we play the Triple Tactics Thrust at 3. To grab our Duplication is set it into the back row to copy the effect of Branded Fusion during the opponent's turn. Let's get to it. Let's do it. We have Nibiru plus a Branded Fusion play. Poplar activate, grabbing our original Sinful. What's really good about Duplication is you can't Ash it copying a Branded Fusion. Even though you're on Resolution going to send a card from the deck to the grave, your effect is to copy an effect. It's not sending from the deck. But your effect is banishing from the graveyard, which means you could Ghost Spell a Duplication. So the question is, should you play Ghost Spell? Well, if you wanted to Ghost Spell Duplication, that would be good. We're going to be copying the Branded Fusion by banishing it, and we're going to rescue our Fire Engine in the graveyard to our hand. And now, let's get Branded Fusion. We're going to send from the deck Cartesia and Albaz for an Albion. Albion now further banishing. As we can see, that Nibiru is activatable. We're ready to get Nibiruing. Our engine is going to trigger to summon a monster from the deck. You're fusing with the Alubur and the Albaz to make a Searing Dragon Lubellion. Lubellion could discard the Chaos Nephthys, which could be activatable if a card in the field gets destroyed. Impulse is going to chain to the Lubellion to summon a Rescue Ace from the deck. Get summoning, and that summon will be a Turbulence. Lubellion resolve our fuse into Mirror Jade. Non-target monster banishes here to banish that Turbulence before it activates. Got to toggle on to use it before the Turbulence activates. Are you ready? Now, non-target, Banish, Lil Knight chain banish itself and the Fire Engine. Okay, sure. As we get rid of that Turbulence, we then follow up with an original Sinful, send Poplar to summon for the deck our Hydrant. Hydrant is going to be searching for another Turbulence. As we further link this up into a Sunlight Wolf, Sunlight Wolf could recycle back one of our fire cards like our Ash Blossom. We're going to summon Turbulence to where the wolf is pointing to trigger to grab back that Ash. You've not used Emergency yet. We did not Nibiru the Turbulence before it activated. Huh? Okay. Yeah, we don't know that they have a, we know Emergency could summon Preventer, send Preventer, then Reborn a Turbulence, but how does April know that there's an Emergency in the hand? Typhon is here. Typhon big enough to take out the Mirror Jade. And we're going to be now using the Typhon to spin the Albion back into the extra deck. We're going to Magna Hut and Phase, banish the Link Rebo. Now, why did the Mirror Jade not activate? It couldn't. Mirror Jade's 3,000 attack. Typhon turns off the Mirror Jade from activating, even though it's not on the field. Anywhere a 3,000 attack monster exists, it cannot activate. So that's what Typhon be doing. Typhon turns off a Turbulence from activating in your hand even. You can't summon Turbulence. Ash negating the effect of the Titanclad summoning from the deck, potentially an Albaz to fuse with the fields. And obviously you also can't use Nibiru with the Typhon on the field. So the point was to Nibiru with the Turbulence in the field, but we had an out to the Nibiru anyway. We could have Emergency Preventer, send Preventer, Reborn Turbulence. That's if we didn't already Preventer this turn, which I don't think we did. Emergency in the draw phase, summon Preventer, send Preventer to then reborn a banished monster here. Triggering the Sunlight Wolf to add back. As we chain Branded in High Spirits to send a monster from the hands of the grave to search for an Albaz monster, plus send an extra deck monster to the grave. Give Albion searching for a branded spell or trap during the end phase. Springin's Kit could add back the banished Branded Fusion to make it usable this turn. Now the Sunlight Wolf does it turn off the activation of the Ash Blossom. You add the fire monster for the rest of the turn. You cannot normal summon or special summon the added monster's name, but we're not summoning it, we're going to activate it. So recycle back the Ash Blossom, making it activatable. On the summon of the Cartesia, trigger the effect of the Fire Engine, reborning the Impulse. There's already a 3 counter on that Nibiru. Ash Blossom negating the Springin Kit from adding back that banished Branded Fusion, which would have then returned the Nibiru back into the extra deck. Lil Knight's going to chain banish the Cartesia, forcing April to fuse the Springin Kit, Magna, and Nibiru if you can. And we're doing it. This does not work to activate. This will not pop 2, draw 1. This specifically says if fusion summoned by a spell, card, or effect. So a card or effect of a spell. So it's not going to activate a pop 2, then draw 1. I don't think April is trying to do that, by the way. I think April knows that April is screwed. Yup, April knows that. Add a Branded Banishment during the end phase, which could reborn the Engrave, Mirror Jade, and also fuse with the field. We have Alert adding from the deck, come to us. Yup. Sinful Spoil adding the Diablo Star, and let's wrap up this duel. And the Typhon also would stop it from activating because 3,000 or more cannot activate. Also on the field. It doesn't need an Exceeds material to have that effect. Just straight up, if it's on the field, 3,000 attack, cannot activate no matter where it is. So reborning the Mirror Jade's not going to be good against the Typhon. And stun decks are now summoning Typhon and protecting it with a ton of back row. So this is a stun enabler. We have Phoenix here, come forth on summon, pop in the back row, forcing the activation of the Branded Banishment. We're going to activate it in response, reboard the Mirror Jade. That cannot be used to activate to banish a card unless we fuse with the Typhon. Are we going to fuse? Chain Link 6 Max C. First, we had to have the Lil Knight be the direct chain link to a card effect activating from the opponent. Then we could add the Max C on top of it. Come forth Mirror Jade. Fusing with the Typhon to now turn off that continuous effect, which was stopping the Mirror Jade. Mirror Jade is now activatable. And a ton of draws happening under Max C, unfortunately, for April here. Goodbye to the banishments. Drawing a card because we're co-linked with the Sunlight Wolf. As we also has Chaos Nephthys triggering off of the Phoenix, destroying a card in the field to summon, to then activate to banish a card in the field and 2 cards in grave. Goodbye to Phoenix, goodbye to Turbulence, goodbye to Hydrant. Garura, Chainlink blocking the Nephthys from being directly negated by a card effect negates. We could still contain it from negating since we negate the card and not the effect directly. And let's get to it. Garura negated, Nephthys negated. It's just not looking good. Triple Tactics talent, take control of the Mirror Jade chain banish as we chain extinguish the Grand Granule. Get the Grand Granule out of here. Now, Grand Granule cannot activate in the graveyard after being destroyed by Extinguish while there's a Hydrant on the field. So we could safely summon a monster through a monster effect, and we're good. Now, the Mirror Jade was summoned this turn, so it cannot change into attack position. Let's return our cards back. Return 4, draw 1. Additionally, summon the Airlifter into a rescue. Banish for Preventer summon. As you then link off Preventer into Unicorn to spin back the Nephthys back in the deck, triggering Preventer to reborn a banished 3,000 attack Turbulence. You have 7,900 damage in the field, now making it over 8,000 damage, and just like that, Gargoyle with Rescue Ace defeating April's Branded with Christia. But wait, there's more. We're going to Rinbrum reborn the Albaz to attempt to fuse the field if we have a card to discard, but we do not, and we also have the fingering the Albaz, stopping the summon, and just like that, it truly is the end for April. Lethal with the access code talker. Boom. What do I think of Punk Snake Eye? I gotta see it to have an opinion on it. Off the top of my head, I don't really know much about that. Escape will pop, Apollo will negate, Phantom of Yubel will negate another monster in addition to those monster negates of the Apollo. The Soul of Rage will link with a special summon monster, then make a Little Knight to banish, to then banish again. That's 8 disruptions with this current field, plus a Nibiru. 9 disruption to play through with a 6-card hand. Can we do it? Now, Forbidden Droplet could turn off multiple disruptions onto that Apollo. Let's do it. We're going to start off with a Rite of Air's Mirror, summoning a token onto the field and setting up the Fateful Adventure. Fateful Adventure activating to grab not a Griffin. What? Grabbing a Water Enchantress instead. Are you not playing Griffin? That's really sus, isn't it? We're going to trigger the Fateful Adventure with the normal summon Nimble Sunfish to grab the Draco to then spin a card in the field back to the hand, so Escape's going to get popping. I don't think so. As we then trigger the Yama off of the Destruction with Escape to Reborn from the Grave. And we're now going to chain Apollo, negate the Maxi. We're going to chain Forbidden Droplet, sending our entire hand to the graveyard, just 2 cards, to negate both the Phantom of Yubel and Apollo on field. And we still have Disruption. Through the Yama reborning the Soul of Rage, it could link off with an opponent's monster. But Soul of Rage cannot link off with an adventure token to summon our main card, which is the Little Knight, requiring 2 effect monsters. So what do? We could, the Sunfish is not special summoned, so that doesn't work. What are we summoning? This is not a Little Knight. Did we know we were summoning a Soul of Anguish? Okay, Soul of Anguish. Water Enchantress banished to grab back the Rite of Air's Mirror, which is a hard once per turn activation. Spright Starter summoning the blue onto the field. In the TCG, I'm wondering, would you let your opponent take it back if they go, okay, Soul of Rage token, Little Knight, you go, you can't summon Little Knight. Okay, never mind then. What do you do? Local, you let them take it back, right? But regional, I don't think so, mate. Special summon that Jet searching for the starter. We already used a starter, so do we not play the other Spright cards, or are we already thinking about the next turn to be setting up with that starter? Summon a Character Red from the deck. Sending from the deck a Nimble Angler to then summon 2 Nimble Sunfishes from the deck onto the field, playing right into a Nibiru. Now, how does Spright get Nibiru'd when they have anti-Nibiru through the effect of Gigantic Spright turning off Nibiru? Well, with the effect of the Angler being sent from the deck, that's why you want to be summoning your Sprint first. Now, Sprint cannot be used for a link material, so it's generally ideal to summon this first and then use the Sprint itself to make a Gigantic Sprite. Now, unfortunately, you're going to be within 5 summons if you make that play. So what do? Do you summon an inefficient Gigantic Sprite just to then summon the Sprint afterward? Then you have to keep the Sprint on the field because you can't link off with it into an Elf. We are under Maxia, though. Holy moly. Nibiru is summoned too. It summons the token and the Nibiru separately, so it is a draw 2. Let's go. We have just an Imperm. The Spright Star is not going to turn into a form of disruption. If they get rid of our token, we could at least then activate our Gamma. Probably not going to be relevant here. 900 damage Reflect. We're going to be searching for an Eternal Favorite with the Nightmare Pain, triggering to summon a Yubel from the deck. Shoconning into a Muckraker. Muckraker cannot be used for a Link summon the turn it's summoned. We're going to be reborning a Yubel with the Spirit Gates. Muckraker, discard, reborn, the Soul of Rage. We have an open field with not enough for lethal damage, so we're just going to end on some disruption. What is our disruption exactly? We're going to add back the Nightmare Pain in Graveyard. Set it up, double Nightmare Pain. It's not double damage. Yubel is going to be tributing off the Spirit. Now, what do we have? Where is our D-Lotus? We couldn't have summoned that in addition. No, we do not, because the D-Lotus is in the deck. We could link off with a monster, that special summon, into Little Knight Banish, We can Eternal Favorite, fuse with the entire field with the Yubel. We have Phantom Yubel, negate a monster, so we have 5 disruption to play through. Can we do it? Let's go. There's the Griffin. Rite of Air's Mirror, chain Griffin Rider here. This was the bait, hoping that they would activate something so that we could negate with Gamma. Because on resolution, the Griffin will now be able to negate any card that's activated. So you would think that Phantom, this is a perfect opportunity to use the Phantom. Why didn't we Phantom? I guess Phantom will just negate the negate. And the Gamma's no good now. Spright Starter, summon from the deck, a blue on summon. We cannot fuse on the flip. A lot of people mistakenly activate the effect thinking that they could fuse on the flip. It's a mistake and you don't want to do that. You want to flip it, wait for it to resolve, then you could use the fuse effect. So we know better. We're not doing that. We're just flipping it up to get ready to fuse the field with the Yubel. Soul of Rage attempting to link off with the Griffin Rider. We're going to imperm negate the Soul of Rage. We are going to now use the Eternal Favorite to potentially fuse with the entire field. We could now use the Phantom of Yubel to negate the Griffin Rider. We could only fuse with effect monsters. We can't fuse with a token. So fuse with the Griffin, fuse with the Spright Blue, fusing with our own cards also optionally. Every fusion material is 500 damage, and we're at 1,000 life. So I think that's it. Activate. Boom for 3,000. Now, if we were feeling cheeky, if that token was an effect monster, we could have fused the entire field, including the token, and then the Gamma would have been able to negate the fusion effect burn. Let's take this into game 2. Fiendsmith, yeah, the most underrated. Enchantress grabbing the Rite of Ares Mirror. Let's set this up. We have the Fateful Adventure here. Adventure grabbing our Griffin Rider, discard the Draco back. And Draco back get equipment onto the token. We now have Griffin to negate the Ash Blossom as the Max C is going to come out and be used before the Griffin can negate it. Different Dimension Ground is main decked, by the way. What the heck? Now, it could make sense if we're playing triple Tactics Thrust, maybe triple Tactics Thrust, where we're playing a build of searching for Rite of Ares Mirror if they have a body on the field. Otherwise, if they max see me, you thrust into setting a different Dimension Ground in your back row. I like that idea. It's good. It looks great. Now, let's get to it. Let's do it to you. Any monster sent to the grave is banished instead. Is that a big deal for Yubel? The Yubel cards will activate if destroyed and banished. They don't have to go to the graveyard. We're going to use Wandering Griffin Rider to negate and destroy the Dark Beckoning Beast. So what do? We follow up with the Nightmare Pain. Pain, pop the Yubel, grab the Spirit of Yubel, trigger Yubel to summon a Terror Incarnate, which will wipe out the entire field during the end phase. Reflect that 2,000 damage first. In the turn, wipe it. Nicely done. And we're no longer under a different Dimension Ground, which does turn off the use of Valor and Max C, which are now activatable. We have Valor, we have Ash, and Max C, searching for the Water Enchantress here. Enchantress being discarded, banish itself to grab a Rite of Ares Mirror from the grave or deck. We have the Ash Blossom, negate. And as I was talking about triple Tactics Thrust, see, it just makes sense to me. Different Dimension Ground, why would you have that in the deck? It's going to be mostly a brick, but if you play just one with a thrust, we could thrust the Rite of Ares Mirror or thrust a triple Tactics Talent. Let's draw 2. Come to me. Double Nimble Sunfish to special summon our Jet, sure. So we know that they're going to special summon the Jet, which doesn't activate to special summon. Jet on summon, searching for the Spright Starter. Starter summon Blue from the deck. Blue activates, search the deck for our Red. Red will be able to negate the effect of the Spirit of Yubel summoning from the hand. What also stops the Spirit of Yubel summoning from the hand is if we just resolve a Gigantic Spright. So that's all we have to do. We're going to sprint first. Sprint, send from the deck. Oh my gosh, all under Max C. What are you doing, man? Angler, trigger, summon from the deck. Sunfish and Nimble Beaver. This dude's playing triple Sunfish and a Beaver and an Angler. Gigantic Spright is here. But while we're untargetable, we are still ashable. Has Ash been used? Ash has been used this turn. So we can't use Effect Valor onto the Gigantic Spright. Gigantic Spright turning off the Spirit of Yubel from being summoned within the battle phase. But just because we turn that off doesn't mean we're in the clear. There still is a Nightmare Pain plus a Terror Incarnate, which we can't deal with at the moment, because otherwise we have to attack into it. 3,200. So at the moment, we lose. 6,300, we have to attack into Terror Incarnate. We have to out it in some way. Elf, Reborn Red. We're going to Valor, negate the Spright Elf. We could summon the Xyz too. Yeah, the rank 2 that could banish the Terror Incarnate. Mannequin Cat. Mannequin could summon from the opponent's graveyard, then target a monster the opponent controls, then summon a monster from our hand, deck, or grave. What are we summoning? Detach, summon a Max C, target the Max C to summon a Hero Kid. Okay, 20 cards left in the deck. I mean, we're not decking them out. Cerberus. Cerberus on summon, discard, pop the Terra Incarnate, and just like that, we have outed the Mad Lad into now making a Lil Knight. If we activate Lil Knight, we cannot attack directly. 8,000 life points, not enough damage, and they have 15 cards in their hand. And as I already said multiple times, they cannot summon Spirit of Yubel due to Gigantic Spright. Oh my gosh, Nightmare Pain turning off the use of our impermanences from the hand. Throne, get poppin'. What can we exactly do here? What is our forms of disruption? We have Lil Knight, which could chain banish an opposing monster in response to something activating. We also have Engrave. We could Reborn Red to negate a monster. We also, Cerberus is doing what? It's protecting. Co-linked monsters cannot be destroyed by card effects. So right now, just Lil Knight and Cerberus are co-linked. Elf is not co-linked. It's linked, but not co-linked. We have Phantom of Yubel, which can now negate the Spright Elf or the Little Knight. We're going to reborn the blue and not the red, so we are now just having the Little Knight Disruption, which is pinned down by the Phantom of Yubel. I mean, it doesn't even matter. Gigantic Spright, gigantically reflecting 3,200 onto our own face, and that is a 2-0 victory. We're going to set up the barrier, the Voiceless, which is ashable. Searching our deck for Saphira. We're not going to ash. We're going to hold on to it. Saphira, discard, search our deck for a ritual spell. Again, ashable, did not ash. Summon Diviner, Diviner, send, which is Gamma. Gamma, negate, and destroy. We chose to not use Ghost Spell to negate the negates. Goodbye to Diviner. Now, Diviner needs to be tributed in order for it to trigger to summon a low from the deck. If we were planning on passing after that, maybe we should have used our Ghost Spell. But, you know, then Gamma's activatable again. It was going to screw us later. And, I mean, we just have Ghost Spell. We have nothing left. Let's speed this up. And just like that, we have 7,200 damage on field. That's the best you could do? Really? 800 life points left. We're going to push the Saphira into the back row. A lot of people don't think about this with Flameburst, but putting any monster into the opponent's back row could turn off impermanences that they newly draw for the turn, and especially a good graveyard effect like Saphira now can't be used to ritual summon the Skull Guardian. Little Knight on Sun, banishing the barrier, which had the effect of searching every single turn for a Voiceless card. Off the top of the deck, we have the Skull Guardian, but we have Diviner. Diviner is going to get banished as it sends from the deck or extra deck a fairy. Could send Herald of Arc Light here to search our, low's fine because we already have the ritual spell, so we don't need the Herald of Arc Light. Chaining Max C to the activation of the prayers to tribute Skull Guardian, to summon Skull Guardian. Come forth, which will trigger the low to reborn from the graveyard, and we could Chainlink block the Skull Guardian from the Ash Blossom by putting it on Chainlink 1. We're drawing a lot for that Max C though. Low, come forth. And we also have Promethean Princess. Now Skull Guardian can negate, right? No, Skull Guardian requires the low to be on the field in order to negate, so it's not there. But it's not hopeless. We have the Prayers in Graveyard, which again under Max C is going to be giving another draw. So through the feet of Saphira, it's going to trigger Engrave to summon another Skull Guardian from the deck. Get poppin', you are wiped out. Come forth, Promethean Princess. As the low come forth and summon, draw another card. Now we have Deity freaking Crow. Deity Crow's not going to disrupt our play though, so this is fine. Prayers banish, come forth and summon from the deck. We have the Raging Phoenix reborning from the graveyard because our monster was destroyed. Flameburst also reborning 2 level 1 fires. So let's speed this up. Sarvis can now protect us from being targeted. And the low is not even ashable if it were not Chainlink blocked. We summoned Sarvis with Prayers. Does this mean we don't have another Skull Guardian in the deck? Because this summons it from the hand or deck. So where is our Skull Guardians? We have both in the freaking graveyard and the deck only plays 2. So hand or deck, not grave. That is really unfortunate. We're going to use the Poplar on someone, grabbing a Subversion, which we can't target a monster on the field anyway. Ash is going to negate the barrier, which a Guardian could have negated had we been able to summon a Guardian. And oh boy. We're going to link off the low into Anima. Anima sucking up the Raging Phoenix all under max freaking C. To battle we go, wiping out the Promethean Princess. Goodbye to the Ashe. What are our disruptions as we end our turn? We're going to Shokan into Dynamundo. Now, if we click on the Sarvis, I don't think you could see it here. Here. Not properly summoned, not summoned correctly. Okay, let's look at the engraved Skull Guardians. This Skull Guardian was properly summoned. This other Skull Guardian was not properly summoned. So thankfully for Master Duel tracking which was and was not properly summoned, the Dyna will reborn the Skull Guardian, which will trigger the low to summon onto the field, which will set up the trap for another form of disruption. So we're going to be able to pop cards and negate anything, but all of that is stopped by a Ghost Bell or a DD Crow. Damn. We did have the setup for double disruption though. We made sure to return back the correct Skull Guardian, right? Yep, the improperly summoned one was returned back in the deck for the Mundo. Diablo Star is here. Set up a card into the back row. Wanted Seeker, not activatable this turn. Normal summon Bell, which outs the Dynamundo, but we have another Bell. Okay, double Bell. Bell, negate. And just like that, we would have had a 4100 attack, Omni negate, a trap to pop a card in the field. They can't attack into Diviner. They have to attack into the Skull Guardian if they want to attack. And did I already say it? The whole field's untargetable. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Let's take this into game 2. Saphira, discard herself, sending a ritual spell to grab the Skull Guardian. What do we have here? We have double disruption. We could pop a card, negate a card, Valor a card, and we have Maxi on top of that. Let's go. Triple disrupt. Do we chain pop this in response to it activating with the Radiance? We do not. We're going to chain Maxi instead in response to its special summoning. We still have our triple disruption here. Kashi on summon. We're going to use the Benki to search for the Soul Piercer. Normal summon the Soul Piercer, link it off into a Scarecrow. Again, draw in. Soul Piercer, activatable more than once per turn. Every time it's sent to the graveyard, it will trigger. We're going to discard to reborn the Piercer. We're going to chain the Radiance to pop. Why are we popping this? Well, what we summon has to be summoned to where it's pointing to. So if it's nowhere to be pointing to because it's off the field, that is a good form of disruption. We're now down to Skull Guardian and Effect Veiler. We have the Motorbike discarding to search our deck for another Wakashi. We already used up our normal summon. Wanted Seeker grabbing a Diablo Star. Diablo Star is not being summoned yet. Wakashi is Pendulum summoning the Diablo Star onto the field. Diablo Star on summon, activate to set up from the deck into the back row. Nothing as the Effect Veiler negates. Now we have Skull Guardian as our final form of disruption with the ability to negate and destroy anything. Not negating bonfires, we had the Poplar. Poplar trigger, special summon itself onto the field. Skull Guardian, negate and destroy, and now we have nothing. No more disruptions left. Our field's still untargetable, and you can't attack into the low. You can only attack into Skull Guardian if you want to attack. We're going to summon an Ashe, and we have Ghost Bell. So we went from out of 0 disruptions now up to 1 with the Ghost Spell. When is Ghost Spell activatable? The Flame Burge attempting to reborn from the grave could be negated. Wanted Seeker is going to be grabbing our original Sinful back in the deck to draw into our own Ghost Spell. Shokan into Masquerena. As we attempt to reborn with the Flame Burge, with the surprise Ghost Spell negates out of nowhere. Ghost Spell it up. Consider Ghost Spell in your Voiceless deck. What do we do now? We scoop. That is the scoop. Someone asked, is Ghost Spell good? And then game 1, Ghost Spell won the duel. Game 2, Ghost Spell won the duel. At least they ended the duel. What the heck? From both players. Motorbike at search, and we got Ghost Spell ready to negate any manipulation with the graveyard, which could be the Scarecrow or the Scales trying to reborn from the grave. Negate anything, plus 4 monster negates, plus Masquerina into Little Knight. That's 7 disruption, plus an effect Veiler, plus a Promethean Princess, 9 disruption, plus a Maxi. Can Voiceless Voice defeat that? Can any deck defeat that? Let's go. And we draw Maxi for our turn, of course. Master roll 6. You start with 6 cards in your opening hand. You don't draw for the turn. Make it happen. Pot of P, digging deep. Let's go. We're going to chain our own Maxi to that. As we then chain Maxi to the Maxi. Sure, I could just negate your Maxi if I want to, but I'm not going to. I'm going to special summon a Masquerina from the back row. We still have our full 9 disruptions. Digging deep, 6 cards off the top of our deck here. Hold up. Okay. What do we want off of this? We want a Saphira to search our deck with. Saphira, discard, search. Apollo's got 4 negates, so just freely negate. Why not, mate? Negate. We have about 8 disruptions left. Saphira's going to perform a ritual summon. Apollo negate again. Negate. Goodbye, Saphira. Saphira ate up 2 disruptions on the Apollo. That's pretty good. Low, activate, Veiler, negate. And with so much more disruption on the way, more Apollo, Borload, Masquerina, Little Knight, Promethean Princess, we're out of here. And just like that, we have Super Heavy Samurai knocking out a Voiceless Voice player. Damn. We have the best deck in the meta right now, Yubel versus Bystial Runick. Now, Bystials are pretty good against Yubel. Let's see when the most opportune time to activate our Juriswarm will be. The Spirit Gates does not target on its Reborn. So if they discard to Reborn, you don't know what to banish unless it's obvious. We're going to end phase, banish just to get our Juriswarm onto the field here. This was not a really good turn 1 play. No bueno. We're going to max C in response to the normal summon of the Cartesia. Sure. Taking 1500. Goodbye to our Little Knight. They did not activate anything. Also, didn't activate any Runick cards locking them out of the battle phase. We're going to finger the Lubellion, stopping it from searching for a Bystial. And also now not rebornable from the grave. That was a big finger. We are ready with the Super Poly, though. Super Poly generally requiring 2 monsters on the field with the same attribute. So there being a light and dark, no good on that Super Poly. And still, we don't have access to our Yubel cards. We're bricked. Special summon a Huggin, locking us out of the battle phase from next turn. Is it correct to lock ourselves out of the battle phase while the opponent is bricked? Should we be taking advantage of that and try to deal as much damage as possible? With them at 5,600 life points, could we have not tried to inflict lethal damage? We're going to be synchroing into Coral Dragon with the Huggin. Coral Dragon, discard a card, get poppin', taking out the Spirit Gates. Further Shokanning into Legacia. Legacia on summon, draw a card. Coral Dragon, draw a card. Draw 2. Pot agreed. Let's go. We got a Quem and an Ash. Quem on summon, send from the deck a Golden Sword Soul. We're going to use the Flash Fire to special summon the Huggin. Huggin on summon, discard the Ash, trigger the Quem to reborn the Cartesia as we search for our Runick Field Spell. Runick Field Spell, if we can activate a Runick card, we're going to be drawing up to 3 cards. We're now making a Tri-Edge Master to hopefully draw into a Runick card here. No. As we then further Shokan into a Baron de Fleur. Baron de Fleur, pop a card in the field, taking out that Polymerization, not usable, and I mean, we know that we probably won't lose by the next turn, but over a longer duel of definitely getting pummeled by the Baron de Fleur, on negate, set up field spell, draw multiple cards, it would be a slow death. Let's just surrender early, take this into game 2. Let's go. Max C into Gamma. Ain't no way Ash can negate the Gamma, though. But the Gamma's still activatable within this turn. But the Max C does resolve. We are under the effect of Max C. And let's get to it. There's nothing else to trigger our Gamma. So let's make the most minimal play under Max C, which is nothing. Okay. Keep the Gamma activatable, set a Super Poly. This is fine. Bystial Runick is not known for one-turn killing, so the pressure of making plays under Max C is not really there. In fact, they don't even have a battle phase now. We're going to come forth and summon Huggin. And this play here is done specifically exactly how it was done. By chaining the Flash Fire to the activation of the Magna Hut, you accomplish protecting the Huggin from the Gamma, protecting it from an Ash Blossom. I've seen so many people playing the Runick Bystial and complaining that, oh my gosh, I'm getting Ash Blossomed, I'm getting all this nonsense, I'm getting Veilered. You have to chain link block your cards to play this deck correctly, like this. Huggin get block in, and Magna Hut protect it from the Gamma and an Ash so we can get to that field spell. Gamma, negate and destroy the Magna Hut. Is that worth it? It does get the Magna Hut off the field, and they don't get another Bystial added back to the hand. So, okay, sure. The Huggin protected the Magna Hut, obviously, as you saw right there. End our turn, back to you. No Bystial in hand, but another Maxi. But we have a finger this time. Off that top of the deck, Dark Beckoning Beast into the Spirit Gates. Let's speed this up until the Maxi is used. Grabbing the Chaos Summoning. This is why you play a Chaos Summoning. We have the Nightmare Pain, popping the Chaos Summoning, Dark Beckoning, allowing the additional summon of the D-Lotus, Maxi, finger, the Maxi. Negate. All right, let's now speed this up. Let's get to it. Let's do it. Spirit searching for a second copy of Nightmare, so we know that they don't play the other cards. Spirit's going to be adding back a continuous spell since we control level 10. Make a Yama with 2 Fiends. Yama searching for the Shabara. Shabara pop the Spirit. Spirit summon a Yubel. Use the Spirit, discard, reborn another Spirit. Spirit Gates, add to the other copy of Spirit Gates, so both of them could add back the continuous spell. And we are reflecting 2,000, 4,000, then fusing the field into a Loving Defender. It's like, why didn't we leave it on the fields, right? Didn't we have game if we Loving Defender with our own cards, then swing in and double reflect for game? I mean, we have game either way. Both are game. Lethal damage. Nicely done. Just like that. Super Poly being used aggressively instead of defensively. Loving Defender. Let's go. 1 and 1. 1 and 1. Quem on summon is going to be negated by the Psy-Frame Gear Gamma. Negate and destroy the Quem as we attempt to send a monster from the deck to the grave. We're going to follow up with the Flash Fire. We could have used Huggin to protect her from being destroyed, but then Huggin would not activate to search for a field spell, so that is much more important here. On summon, goodbye. Now, unfortunately, we do not have any Runick cards to trigger our Runick Fountain. So you're going to banish for our Bystial Baldrake, triggering the Golden Sword Soul to special summon from our hand the Cartesia to get drawing with Coral Dragon. And we're going to draw 2 by making the Legatia. Draw 2. We need any Runick spell. If we don't draw a Runick spell, we're screwed. Let's go. Let's go. 1, 2. Runick spell to trigger the fountain, and we're good. 1. Yes, that's it. We got it. We got it. Runick Fountain, activate the Droplet, special summon from the extra deck a Gary. Returning 2 cards on the graveyard back into the deck to draw 2 more. We now have a Runick Destruction, which could chain destroy the Nightmare Throne or the Nightmare Pain, making a Little Knight. Little Knight is going to just be sitting there as a passive way of disruption. If they activate a card, we could chain banish a monster on the field. Let's get to it. Off the top of the deck, I mean, the Runick Destruction has so many good cards to get popping. We're not going to pop the Spirit Gates. We're waiting. We're now going to trigger the Runick Dispelling to banish a card from the opponent's hand. I should say discard it, not banish. We did not want to draw yet with the Runick Fountain until they chose to end their turn. Triggering the Runick Fountain and return 2, draw 2. Let's go. Looking really good for Runick Bystial. Continually recycling that Runick Fountain. Skip battle phase. Now back to you. We can destroy a special summon monster. We can negate with the Ash. We can banish with the Little Knight. Dark Beckoning, chain banish with Little Knight. Goodbye to that Dark Beckoning Beast. All right. Are y'all liking the different music throughout the duels, or what do you think about this? Is this okay? Spirit Gates, Dark Beckoning. We already used up our normal summon. Activate the Nightmare Throne. We don't have a Runick Destruction. We got the D-Lotus to be discarded to then be reborn, or reborn the Dark Beckoning, then additionally summon the D-Lotus. D-Lotus is going to be negated by Ash Blossom, but we have a Call by the Grave to negate the negate. Negate. we still have a Runick Fountain draw big play, and not only could we be drawing into Runick cards, we could be drawing into Bystials. Drawing into Bystials are also quite good against Yubel. I'm gonna grab the Eternal Favorite, which could fuse with the entire field of effect monsters. Spirit Gates, add back the Spirit Gate Engrave. Nightmare Pain, now we're chain summoning our Huggin onto the field here, to then use Cartesia to fuse with the Huggin to make a Grand Granule. Grand Granule could summon a Quem from the deck if we want to. In response to the opponent summoning a monster through a monster effect, we're going to send a Garura to draw a card. We're going to chain Slumber, protecting the Spirit of Yubel from being destroyed. We're going to chain Squirmer to destroy the Spirit of Yubel. So what this accomplishes here is the Slumber will now not banish cards off the top of our deck, but it's still going to be able to trigger the Runick Fountain to draw cards. So goodbye Spirit. Nightmare Pain is going to non-target destroy on resolution, grabbing a Spirit of Yubel from the deck. Trigger Spirit, trigger Throne, come forth and summon. We're going to trigger the Grand Granule to summon from the deck, not also using the Fountain. We're going to wait with the Fountain on the activation resolution of the Flash Fire to pop a special summon monster. Terra Incarnate is here, plus a Yubel. Quem on summon, send a Cartesia from the deck to the graveyard. We're going to link this off into Cross Sheep, which could trigger the Quem to reborn from the grave, reborning the Cartesia. We're now going to Flash Fire, pop the Cross Sheep before the Phantom of Yubel is summoned. We're going to trigger our field spell, return 3, draw 3, and just like I said, we got Bystials. Before we could even attempt to summon our Phantom of Yubel, but we have more than enough materials to summon that Phantom of Yubel anyway. We're going to banish the Squirmer, summon the Spirit for the Shokan with the Squirmer and the Phantom into Little Knight, which will be able to trigger on summon to banish the Runick Fountain. Baldrake is not negating, but Baldrake is attempting to banish the Little Knight. Little Knight's going to dodge the banish by banishing itself and the Quem. The Flash Fire, unfortunately, a hard once per turn, so we cannot activate it again. And reflect that 2,000 damage onto the Baldrake. As we then make a Typhon. 3,000 or more attack cannot activate as we return that Baldrake back. Returning a Bystial back to the hand. Is that sus or what? I don't know if I agree with that. That's kind of wild. Now, what's the Typhon exactly stopping? It could stop a Chaos Angel, a Dissipator, a Chang Ying, a Baron de Flor. Almost all of the extra deck will not be activatable as long as that Typhon's on the field. We have Lubellion, which is not 3,000 attack, thus it's activatable to search for a Druiswarm banishing a Spirit. As we flip up our Eternal Favorite to use the effect to not fuse, but to reborn the Spirit that you were trying to banish, thus your Druiswarm does not get summoned. Since we used Eternal Favorite on Chainlink 2 or higher, it does miss the timing on its effect of making it so you can't activate in response to the summon of the Spirit of Yubel. We're going to Flash Fire, get popping onto the Typhon. We're going to chain the Little Knight to chain banish. Now, Little Knight is a good way to stop the opposing Little Knight. So what are we targeting? Our Little Knight is targeting Typhon and Quem, and the other Little Knight is targeting our own Little Knight and the Typhon. So what happens here is our Little Knight will not banish the Quem. Quem's going to stay on the field. Goodbye to Typhon and the Little Knight. Our Little Knight resolves with no effect. Flash Fire, also no effect. Baldrake banishing the Squirmer as we then summon our Cartesia to make our Dissipator, which was stopped from being activatable due to the Typhon. Quem triggering to reborn the Cartesia. We're going to grab a Psy-Frame Driver to then synchro with it into a Chang Ying. Double level 10 synchro is here. So that Typhon really was stopping us. We're going to send Dissipator to reborn Lubellion. Chang Ying is waiting for a card to be banished anywhere. So with the Dissipator Engrave, it is a monster negate if it's on the field. So we're waiting for, if your opponent summons a monster in any way whatsoever, the regain will trigger to reborn the Dissipator being able to negate. But with the Typhon back in the field, Typhon is turning off the Chang Ying from the double banish, and then the Dissipator also will not be able to negate. So how do we deal with that Typhon? Off the top of the deck, Super Poly right away. Holy moly, we could fuse with everything, and we cannot change to the Super Poly. Off the top of the deck with no hesitation, we're going to slap it onto the field, discard, and fuse. Leaving up Chang Ying. Why would you do that? Because we want the Chang Ying to stay right where you are, my friend, because we are going to reflect its attack twice onto the opponent and banish it off the field with our Loving Defender. Now, a bunch of cards are now triggering the throne because a monster left the field through a card effect. Even if it was through our own card effect, we'll be summoning a Yubel onto the field, Dissipator reborning, but because of the Typhon, Chang Ying nor the Dissipator can activate. Normally, these Bystials would be triggering the Chang Ying to banish a card in the field and in the graveyard, but it can't even activate because of that Typhon that's still on the field somehow. Add back, it's hopeless. To battle phase we go, scooping it up before the Nightmare Pain, double reflects the battle damage, reflect for the first attack, reflect for the other effect of the Loving Defender, and just like that, knocked out. Bystial, Runick, it had a good show. I was happy to see Legacia now being used for the double draw with the Coral Dragon. Damn. Begin. Start off with the grass. Pretty good. Ash eating grass, so we're free to use a branded fusion if we were to have one, which we unfortunately do not. Grass was fixing our trash hand. Now, oh my gosh, we have no disruption whatsoever. Let's speed this up. The Courtier is activating the pop to essentially perform what the Fire King Island does. Abumad making the correct play of just surrendering. Get out of here. Fusion, deployment into a max C. Do we finger that C? Yes, we do. We're not going to allow you to be drawing per special summon. And let's freaking go. If we had Puppet, we had the full setup to Puppet the opponent, but no more Puppet. So we have non-target monster banish. We're gonna have a way to on fusion summon, add a monster negate. We have Nibiru. We have branded in red, which will fuse into probably a Chimera to pop cards. We have the duplication, which could fuse into another disruption. We have Rinbrum to reborn in Albaz, which could be sent with the Mirror Jade to reborn and fuse the opponent's field. We got about 6 disruptions here. Let's go. Volcanics is going to be met with the duplication onto the branded fusion. Now, we are sending from the deck to come forth, getting the Chaos Nephthys in the graveyard, so now we're up to 7 disruptions. Lubellion on summon, discard a card to get fusion. We're going to pop a fire to search a fire, grabbing the Ponix. Ponix can trigger off of that. Lubellion discarding Cartesia. Lost is also activating, and the Ponix can in fact respond to a fusion summon because the branded Lost was not a Chainlink 1 fusion summon, and also the duplication does not work with the Lost to give you protection. And now we're going to be searching for that monster negate. We've got about our 7 disruptions here. Lubellion fusing into Borload Furious. We already accounted for this disruption, which could pop a monster on the field. Could pop any card in the field, actually. Pop our own card plus 1 card the opponent controls. Mirror Jade is going to non-target monster banish. The Kirin is going to chain pop the Volcanics and then get banished as the Volcanics summons from the deck a Garunix. Sure. We're going to Mercurier negate. I don't think so, mate. We still got 5 more disruptions here, and we are ending our turn. We're done. Borload Furious popping the Lubellion and the monster, triggering the Nephthys to reborn and banish that set card. Goodbye to the Crossout Designate, plus 2 cards in your graveyard. Goodbye, goodbye. Double banish, triggering the Mercurier off of the banish of the Chaos Nephthys. Chaos Nephthys is one of my favorite new cards that I see branded Mad Lads like Abumad playing in their deck. Now, is it actually a new card? No, it's just being newly teched into Branded. As Branded continually gets hit by the ban list, you're just giving them more room for newer and more interesting techs in their deck. And with the meta being heavily graveyard focused, using the Chaos Nephthys loopable on every single turn to banish 2 cards from the grave and from the field, it's incredibly powerful. Alrighty, what do we have here? What? Snake Eye Fire King. Set passing. So we still have some disruption even though our hand is bricked. We have Imperm Negates. We could summon the Kirin to then pop another card in the field with the Skyburn, and we have Max C. So 2 disruptions plus Max C. It's up to Abumad to not hard play into that Max C. Kit will search for a card, then return a card from our deck hand back into the deck. We're going to chain Branded and High Spirits to discard Albaz, send a fusion monster, and search our deck for an Albaz monster. Titanclad, grabbing the Cartesia. So on the activation of Cartesia to special summon, that's when we're going to get hit by that Max C. We're going to set up a Branded Lost, activate Cartesia, Max C, change to the Cartesia, turning on our Triple Tactics Thrust. Ready to get thrusted. They still have Kieran summon plus the Skyburn. We're going to be activating Kieran to get itself onto the field. We're going to chain Cartesia Fuse. Using with the kit to go into a Grand Granule. This will trigger the Branded Lost to search our deck for an Albaz monster. But we are not protected in the window of our Fusion Summon. Grand Granule triggering to send a card from the deck or actually exit the grave. Volcanics is activating in response to Fusion Summon as it can. We're going to Skyburn, wipe out that Branded Lost before it searches. Now, the Thrust cannot add a card to the hand if there's no monster in the field, but thanks to the Volcanics getting the Runics onto the field, we're now going to be able to add a Branded Fusion to our hand. Send the Serenir with the Grand Granule. Serenir, send from the deck. Grand Granule also triggering off of a monster, summoning a monster. Kieran being destroyed by the own Fireburn is going to reborn a Fire King, which we did not have that form of disruption until drawing into a Fire King. So that added an extra form of disruption. We just had Imperm, Skyburn. Now we have Kieran pop a card in the field, but there's no card to pop here. You on summon, on resolution, right here, pop, there's nothing to pop. Now we have the Quem. Serenir sending a Retribution. Quem on summons, send from the deck. Volcanics will pop a fire to search for a fire. The Flame Burst is not triggerable, so we're going to pop the Runics. Now, Runics is in play. The Runics, when destroyed, will special summon from your deck a Fire King. Oh, we don't care about that. What's the other one? During the standby phase after this card was destroyed, special summon this card and then destroy all monsters on the field. Do we have a way to play around that coming? Because it's coming. The Retribution is going to add the Branded Lost back. The Runics is being triggered off of a fire monster being destroyed, which will normally destroy a Kieran from the deck to then summon and pop a card, but we already used the effect of Kieran. So instead, we're going to pop an Arvata. Arvata reborn a negated Kieran, trigger the Ponix to come forth and summon. Now, Fire King's doing all this special summoning on our own turn while we are under Max C. Ponix trigger, grabbing the Sanctuary to be used next turn. We're going to get thrusted. Thrusting the grass looking green to mill 17 cards here. What are we milling? We got the Chaos Nephthys now in the graveyard. I'm going to keep on repeating it. We are under Max C, so we have to be careful. We lost all 3 of our Super Polys. What the hell? We're going to use Branded and White, banishing for the graveyard to fuse into Albion. Draw a card off of that summon. Albion trigger, Quem trigger. This is a lot of special summoning we're doing under Max C. So is Abamod going for lethal? Is Abamod feeling desperate? What the heck is going on? I think we're trying to go for game. Can we actually lethal this mad lad? No, we're not going to. Albaz swinging in, Quem wiping up. We're just cleaning up this field. Furious Dragon wiping out the Volcanics. Trigger the Nephthys to then banish the Runics and 2 cards in the graveyard. But this is still not lethal damage. Again, drawing for Max C. Goodbye to Runics, Arvata, and Kieran. There's 2 more Kierans where that came from, but Runics should be gone for good from the game. Oh my Jesus. Almost 100 life points. You really could not have won. Wow. Okay, let's go. Cartesia add back during the end phase. Titanclad adding. We're not summoning, further giving them more cards under Max C. What exactly do we have here? The Nephthys is stuck on the field. We want it in the grave so that we could pop a card with the Borload to then reborn it to then banish a card in the field and in the grave. So we have Borload double pop, and we'll pop 1 card in their field. We have Quem, reborn, and Albaz in the graveyard to fuse to their field. But beyond that, if we can't get the Nephthys into the graveyard to trigger it through the Borload, that's a much needed disruption that we need to be used on their turn, which we don't have. We don't really have much. And what did I say? The Avatar Runics is here to wipe up the entire field. Wipe it. Borload is going to get poppin'. If we Borload popped Chaos Nephthys, and then this wipes it on the lower chain link, thus the Nephthys is in the graveyard after it wipes, the Nephthys would trigger, but there'd be nothing on the field to banish, so that wouldn't even be a good idea. We are using the Skyburn to protect ourselves from being destroyed by the Borload Furious. Now, it's important to read the Nephthys. The Nephthys states still, if any card on the field is destroyed by a card effect. So if the opponent destroys a card on their own field, the Chaos Nephthys will reborn and get banishing. But if they pop a card from the hand, that does not count. So let's see what they do. Lucas may mistakenly pop a card in the field with the Fire King Island. This is a big opportunity to screw things up. Kieran could also pop a monster on the field, by mistake triggering the Chaos Nephthys. I mean, they do have a finger, but let's pretend like the finger's not there, okay? Poplar trigger, come forth and summon, adding a subversion to our hand from the deck. Linkuriboh. All right, further linking this up into Dark. Dark can steal a dark monster from the opposing graveyard. Come to me, Borlord Furious. To battle we go, 10,000 damage. No! Abomod. Chaos Nephthys branded losing to Max freaking C. 100 off from lethal. 100 life points. Thank you, YouTube, for watching the top 16. In the next video, we'll be going into the top 8 grand finale and top deck list, starting off with Kashtira, Banish, Stun, whatever you want to call this, in the top 8. Let's go.